Good morning. Continuing with our series of management tips. This was one of those times when there's a change in the unit head. And the new unit head took the opportunity to understand various aspects of the operations and expenses and costs and so on. So he used the opportunity for the budget preparation as an opportunity to understand each and every element. And since the business was under pressure at that point of time, much more in-depth analysis of how each expenses go. So we had a meeting. I was also part of the invitees for that meeting since I was head of supply chain in that plant, and all expenses, contracts, everything is routed through us. So I was also sitting there, and my colleague Vikas was presenting his proposals for the budget for that year. And he was going from department to department, section to section under his department. He is the head of personal administration, and he was talking about various sections. And the meeting has started. So he started with transportation, the first section. So boss kept asking him, how many cars do we have, how many on company, how many on hired basis, and all that. And he was pushing him and again and again and again as to how it can be reduced, why we should bring new policies, why we should provide vehicles to some people, whatever. How can we optimize? Why should we not stop to some people? And a variety of them. Why can't we reduce some vehicles? Why can't we reduce some contracts? And he was getting more and more and more and more in depth and raising very, 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 very inconvenient questions, and was possibly not even listening to the explanations from the head of the department. That was over. Then another subject of his, possibly a guest house, started. Again, he was completely jumping on him, raising many questions as to how we possibly have to improve the control and all that. Very, very, very in-depth questions and questioning each and everything. Now, I was also there in the meeting, as I said, and I was also watching. And then there was a break. The boss had got a phone call to attend to, and he said, we'll have a 5-minute break. And he walked out of the conference hall. And the head of the department, my friend, was almost red-faced because he had all his colleagues of the department, each section head there. And, it became very difficult to answer all those questions. I did have some observation, and I have called Vikas to the side and said, there is one gentleman with the name Gajana. Please shift him from the place he's sitting now in conference hall to a corner. He said, why? I said, you please listen to me, do that. Because that conference hall is a table in the form of C form and capital C, right? And I said, get this guy out to a corner. Then bosses come back. Then he started the next section, maybe office administration, furniture, maintenance, office cleaning type of things. And boss was inquiring, but definitely not the same intensity as it was in the earlier section. And the subsequent section even went much smoother. Then the whole department review was over and meeting was over, and we called off and moved off. Then Vikas came to me and he asked me, how come the second part was much smoother? I said, this is because of your friend, your colleague in your department called Gajanan. He said, how come? He said, I told him that I was observing many people, including this Gajan, many people in organizations, we have this habit of agreeing to the boss, whether it's your subject or somebody else's subject. The big boss means that whatever he says is right, and we agree. And when we agree, we also nod our head. Yeah, correct. So that means that whenever boss makes a statement and you tend to nod your head yes, you are reinforcing his statement that here is somebody else agreeing with him. So therefore, all the more he gets convinced that what he's saying is right, because some of them could be, in imaginary questions or, but so what happened in the first couple of sections, it's also to be noted that the boss, anybody sitting in a conference hall will have the vision, which is normally in V. So there is an arc, a V. He would be looking at people this way and that way around his vision, right? And this guy called Gajanan, very innocent guy, he's no wrong intention. So the boss would say, I think there is a lot of opportunity for you to reduce transportation costs. And he turns his head that way, and Gajanan would say yes. So it gets reinforced. So he further raises, oh, how many cars do we have? Do we require so many cars? And he turns his head. And Gajanan, because he has to say yes to boss, he will say, Now, what Mr. Head of the Department is saying is gone behind, because this is reinforcing that yes, there is a possibility of reduction of number of cars, number of contracts, and all that. Right? So once Gajanan is out of his vision, that I moved him out. So obviously boss has again raised the same thing, but remaining people kept the stone face and they did not. So he had a doubt, or possibly no, right? So the things went a bit more smoothly. Okay, this is an incident, and this experience of mine has been not only in this place, but I've seen in multiple meetings that we had. So there will be some guys in the meeting whom you would have taken, who would nod their head. Okay, so just watch for them and let them not be right in front of the big boss. Because whatever boss says, this guy will nod and he will get reinforced. So whatever counter argument you would like to give to the boss, it may not work. It happens subsequently much later. Several times it happened. Another example I can quote was subsequently much later in L&T Valve's experience. Suddenly a new gentleman has taken over and he sits in this thing and then he has a view. So he raises a question. I think our designs are over-designed. He makes a statement of that nature. There's someone who is nodding the head in the audience in front of him. And therefore, whereas we do not think that our designs are over-designed and they're appropriate and require the market and our market acceptance is because of our rugged designs, robust designs. But the new gentleman raised that question and somebody nodded, and more innocently, of course, not the design guy, not anybody to do with manufacturing, but he completely nodded his head. So boss gets reinforced further. And then he pushes you further to see what can be taken. I'm not at all saying that bosses will get misguided, but sometimes bosses can get into much more depth than possibly required, or sometimes you may get into a mood of not taking your feedback. So management tips. So whenever you're organizing a meeting with big boss, especially with all your people, just watch those guys who will be very innocently, they will have this habit of nodding their head, yes, and then it can lead to unwanted discussions. Okay, so watch out. So this is a management tip for the day. Thank you.